Hey all, welcome back. Now it's time to rock this church. My goal is to finish it in one entry here, so half hour. So I've seen some other Let's Plays get bogged down here, and look, I'm not blaming anybody. I mean, it's there's a lot of puzzles. It's challenging, but so I'm only getting one of these out a week, about if I'm lucky. So we gotta chop. The funny thing is, sometimes I look at these enemies, and it makes me think of Undertale. You guys know Undertale? I assume most of you do. And even if you haven't played it, you've probably at least heard of it, because it's a big phenomenon. Or it was. It's sort of died down for a while. New stuff's come out. But basically what Undertale did was it deconstructed the typical RPG by taking everything completely literally. Right? Like, we assume a lot of the times in games that things that happen in battle are almost like separate from the rest of the story. Not so much in this game, but Final Fantasy, you can summon like a friggin' demon to make a giant explosion in the middle of the town, and then when the fight's over, obviously there's no crater, there's no pile of corpses, right? It's just sort of separate. With Undertale, disrupted that to such a degree that, like, every time you killed one of these little monsters, it makes an impact. I'm gonna step on this switch here because since everybody gets stuck on. In fact, I think we'll just start from the bottom, and then work our way up through the puzzles. Alrighty, so anyway, back to Undertale, and it gets you to think about like RPGs where you're walking around and just sort of slaughtering, monsters left and right without thinking much about it at all, really. I mean, there's some games, like Pokemon, where there's some games like Pokemon where it says that the creatures get where the creatures get knocked out instead of killed. So I guess that's a little better. I think and I think that may be assumed. Jesus Christ, come on, I can do this. I think that may be assumed for some games, like, for example, in Final Fantasy VII, if Eris gets knocked down in battle, you can just bring her back with a phoenix down, but when Sephiroth stabs her, that's permanent. Let's see if you see what I mean there. It's almost just assumed that it's different. But after Undertale, I think it would be hard to make another game where you're just going around killing things. I mean, you can take a shortcut. See, check this out. It teleports you to the other end of the room. So it's a quick way to get out of this part once you're done. You can. So there are some things you can make like exceptions for. For example, like bats. I mean, bats aren't like sentient. I mean, you could just say that, Solus is a world where bats are unusually vicious, but not particularly intelligent. So that's different. But, like the enchanted dolls and the squids, it's kind of like, well, how much do those creatures, how similar are those creatures to us, right? I mean, actually, I think later in the game there's a bar where a Moppet's actually sitting on one of the tables. Oh, here we are. Look. Now, this room, it helps to just stick to the walls of the inner cage here. It's not foolproof, but... Oop, yeah, see, it's not. But it... God damn, get out of the way. It's usually enough to make it within time. So, especially, like, with Legacy, which is the reason why I'm thinking about this so much, to have, like, a kid who's in school, going to be about, like, 15 or 16 or whatever, to have somebody in school just go out into the wilderness and just start killing like living things, with their, some of whom might have their own, society or family or whatever. It's kind of, I don't know. Once you play Undertale, you start thinking about that shit. So, I'm not sure. I think I'd either have to have like mostly you know, organic monsters like bats, or we would just have to say, like, you know, the enemy ran away or whatever. Which, you know, some people could argue, like, oh, you're just being a wimp, but I don't know. I mean, you know, that little change kind of can put your mind at ease. So it's just interesting. I mean, that's, you know, I think that's what made that game so striking, is just the thoughts that it put into your head. Although I remember when I played it, I killed a few things at the beginning, not because I wanted to, or I didn't know that the idea was to let them go. But what happened was there's some NPC pretty early on in Undertale. It says, you know, oh, if you beat them up a little bit, they'll be more inclined to run away. So I was trying to do that, except a lot of times I was killing the fucking things in one hit. So it was like, oh, great. So eventually I realized that now you just not even hit it at all. Just try and, you know, go through the other options in the battle menu to get them to leave. So I did get a little bit of a lecture from Sans at the end. He told me to think about what I did for a little bit, so I did. You know, I never did the bad ending where you kill everyone. I mean, because the game's so literal, like, I don't know, I couldn't bring myself to do it. So instead I watched a Let's Play, which is really fucking funny, because if you watch a Let's Play, a character will actually call you out for that. He'll be like, oh yeah, some people just watch it instead of doing it. Well, you know, what a bunch of wimps or something. I don't know, it's something like that. And what is that, right? That's like beyond breaking the fourth wall. That might be breaking like the fifth wall. But I don't know. It's definitely the guy, the designer, planned for pretty much every fucking possible thing people could do. So it's pretty amazing. Whatever game we can do next is going to be some impossible expectations. Anyways. But anyway, so I guess you see my dilemma with battles and whatever my next project is. But on a lighter note, I am glad to be playing these dungeons again. At this time, secret, just to you know, get a chance to see like what made them popular. And with this dungeon, it's pretty clear. I mean, it's just a lot of different things to do. It's fun. That's probably a little more fun actually if you know what to do. People get, you know, that tile puzzle I already did. You know, it's very subtle, and I've seen people get stuck on that for fucking hours. And you know, it is subtle. I mean, if we did it again, probably would, you know, either not have that bit or just make it, you know, much more obvious that you're supposed to be looking for a tile to step on. This right here is a pretty classic puzzle you see in a lot of games, so I don't think this gives people too much trouble. And it's fun, you know, it's neat. I like how all the flames like shuffle back and forth. That was a nice little touch. So I've been talking to somebody and we may have a guest narrator next time. It's not Mark, although he's welcome to do it anytime he wants. But no, it's somebody else who might come in and talk a little bit about Master of the Wind and what it meant to them, and you know, that would be kind of fun, right? Mix things up a little bit. So yeah, you know, tell your friends. I don't know how many people are watching this, though. I've only just started it, but I know somebody is. So I want to say thank you, Never Silent, for the little graphic that you made with the Smirnoff bottle with Stoic's face on it. That gave me a good laugh. So yeah, if you want to know what I'm talking about, anybody else watching this, go check out the last video. It's a whole Smirnoff Ice gag. See, I like it when other people can Photoshop because I can't do it to save my life, which is another problem for me with RPG Maker, because usually, you know, if you want to do some edits, it's, you know, almost a necessity. Mark's pretty good at it, but I can only do like the most rudimentary stuff. So maybe someday I'll teach myself some more, but you know, by default I don't know a whole lot. So it's always impressed me when other people can do stuff, because I'm always like, you know, seeing something like, oh yeah, you know, boy, if I knew how to do Photoshop, I would do this. Like, I remember back when, this is a long time ago, but back when Arc 4 won Game of the Year over on RPGmaker.net, there were a lot of different random-ass awards that you could win, and one of the ones that we got was the best boss battle for Danica, who you'll meet later if anybody's being exposed to Master of the Wind for the first time with this. So what I really wanted to do, I wanted to like just get some picture of Danica holding an Academy Award or something similar, right? I mean, that was I just thought that'd be so funny, but can't do it. I didn't even know where to start with that, so I'm not very good drawing either. In fact, there's some crappy drawing that shows up as part of the plot of this game, and I did. So we'll talk about that when it happens. But there was another time too, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe 4. I don't know. Actually, I think it might have been 4 years ago. Time flies. But when Star Stealing Prince won Game of the Year, which was actually the year after Arc 7 of this game won Game of the Year. So you know how at the Oscars, if you've ever watched them, and you probably haven't, because everybody loves to tell me they don't care about the Oscars. And, I don't doubt that that's true, but come on, some people do. I've been watching it. I know they're stupid, right? I mean, I'm better equipped to criticize them than most people, because I've watched them like my whole life. But, anyway. But if you've watched them, you know that a lot of times, like, the previous year's winner will present something. Like, usually the previous winner of Best Actress presents the award for Best Actor. That kind of thing. So I figured if the Misaos were like a telefied event, then it would have been Shroud handing the Game of the Year Misao to Snow, the lead guy from Star Stealing Prince. And I was like, man, I wish I could make that, but of course, that was Rai's game. She's an awesome artist, so that's a totally idea. She did it in probably like 2 seconds. But hey, at least I got to see it. So now we're in this box pushing room, which I enjoy. Although some people get stuck here too, because it's not like immediately apparent that you have to push the little boxes into that hole in the middle. Just stack them and then make like a 2-tier box you could push. I like how the bats keep flying into the box. There must be a lot of like dead bat blood stains on it. You ever see that like on a car after a long drive? When I was in high school, my French class did a trip to Quebec City, which, I guess was easier on the school budget than going to France. So we did that, and I remember took a bus. It's probably about a 7-hour drive from where I am to get to Quebec City. And so you take a bus, and then I remember looking at the bus at the end, and there were like a couple hundred dead flies on the front, just because all the ones get whaled while you're driving. Alright, so this is the diary scene. This is an optional bit. I think you get a minor change in the dialogue before the boss fight if you read it. And I kind of like this bit, even though it's a little long, because it starts out with like, Shroud and Stoic like joking about how boring the diary is, like having fun. And then it just gradually gets more and more serious until I finally realize whose it is. In fact, I like this bit so much that I eventually dramatized it. I'm not sure how many people have seen this now. It's been kind of out of print, for lack of a better word. Out of circulation, maybe. Whatever the digital equivalent of out of print is. But it was it was Andau's backstory, pretty much the story he tells here. And but I tried to do it like a silent movie, and so what I did was I was all black and white, of course, and then you had intertitles, which if you've watched a silent movie, you know that a lot of times they have dialogue. It's just you have to read it. It's like, kind of like subtitles, I guess. And they sort of interrupt the story. You'll see like a little like frame, and then in the middle of the frame will be whatever dialogue is being said. So I did that, and it was cool to do, and it was kind of like a low-tech thing that I could do myself, right? Because even though I might not be a very good artist, I can make a little a little intertitle frame. And I picked this really like heavy emotional music from Elfen Lied or Elfen Lied or whatever you say that anime. That really like gross but kind of powerful anime about the fuck was it about again? Oh, like telekinetic chicks like ripping people up and yeah. So I made that, and it used to be attached to Arc 3 if you got a couple items. I think you had to craft a projector. So you do that, and you can watch it. But I don't know if it was attached to these complete versions. I know I've said to Mark before that it'd be cool to have like a special features like element where you could go into a little menu and you could watch just the various kind of extras that we made for this game over the years. I don't think we wound up doing that. And it makes certain scenes in the game a little more interesting too. Alright, looks like we're ready to deal with the end out. That was quick, huh? So while I was blathering about the thing I made, I did that history puzzle, which I should talk about a little bit because it was kind of a neat little moment for the game. Whereas you have to, it forces you to learn a little bit about the world's history and sort of comprehend the basic chronology of things. Although what a lot of players don't realize, on the first playthrough is that it's not the most accurate characterization of the history. It's very slanted towards sort of the Gallian point of view because this was a Gallian Church at one point. But it does give you an idea of the events. So it was kind of a neat thing, and just the idea of having to read those little scraps of history, and the way they were written emphasizes like one happening before the other, or the sort of the relationship between them time-wise. So you have to read it kind of closely. So I always thought that was a cool little thing. And now we got Andau in this cool room where the bats start flying around. Oh, you know what? I don't know if I ever told you guys this. Probably not, because we're only like 3 entries in. But there was a game that came out at some point. I mean, not like came out. It wasn't like professional or anything. But just something somebody put out on one of their RPG Maker forums, like a demo. And it was like, it ripped us off so hard. Because, as some of you may know, there is an unencrypted version of Arc 3 that's still floating around the internet somewhere. And boy, did that thing cause some trouble. I mean, just people, the battlers showing up in random projects and just wholesale, in the case of the demo I'm talking about, just the wholesale copying of puzzles and rooms. Like, there's a room where, like, it's this room where the bat's flying and you have to fight a vampire. I mean, the dialogue's different, but, it's the same thing. And of course it got busted for plagiarism by the mods because, Master of the Wind's a pretty familiar game to a lot of RPG Maker veterans, so they caught it quick. But I don't know, man. I have a hard time getting mad about that stuff. I think, I sort of enjoy it. There's like a flattering element to it, you know what I mean? It's just kind of fun. So I wasn't about to come down on the guy too hard. It's just interesting to see, what is it about your work that people find so interesting that they'll attempt to duplicate it, more or less. I guess we can talk about that later when some other popular elements come up. So this Andau fight, I'm coming in at just the right level, which is level 7. If you hit level 8, he somehow realizes that you've bulked up and hits you with a really nasty attack right off the bat. They still have to deal with this while the bats come out. This is a good little mid-battle twist, I think. Because you got to rough shot the shit out of them. And they'll do some damage before they go, though. Because you can't kill them all in a single hit. I mean, Shroud can take out one in a single hit, but there's 6 of them, so
That's going to take a while if you do it that way, so you got to do the rough shot. And that one's still alive because one of the rough shots missed, I believe. Other than that bit, though, this fight's not too hard for somebody who knows this game. And speaking of that, I mean, look at this. 20 minutes, I mean, we're almost done with the entire dungeon. That's pretty good, I'd say. So I guess it's a lot easier when you know how to do everything. So if this is the kind of pace we're going to have, it doesn't seem quite as daunting. I don't think I can beat him without wasting meters. Well, I guess it's not a waste since I am using it. But I was kind of hoping to save him. Just that sort of scarcity mentality that you have in RPGs where, like, you gotta save everything because you're gonna need it later. But it's kind of silly if you think about it, because, like, if you save everything for the last boss, you're probably not even gonna have the time to use it all. So, use your items, use your techs, use all the resources that you have. Oh, bye, Ando. There we go. Bull Rush. Hell yeah, man. Bull Rush is, like, iconic, right? It's not just a good attack, but it's almost a part of Stoic's personality. Oh, there goes Ando. It's a long drop. Yeah, not to mention he landed in a big pool of holy water. That's probably that's probably what he's got to worry about. It's interesting too. Stoic's very, like, not particularly hung up about Ando getting killed. It's become pretty personal for him, just because of him biting Rana and then talking shit to him about it later. I think normally he would have at least a little more compassion, but not for Ando. He's not a big Ando fan. And this is the first glimpse of Saad's family. And this map is actually a map you see later when you come across the old house. When I originally did this part, I was being, like, super artistic about it. And I basically just made it like a blank map with only the grave and the family, maybe like one tree. I don't know, but I wanted it to look like barren. It was supposed to be like a metaphor for, like, the hurt and, like, the emptiness left behind by something like that. And in addition to being a very empty looking map, there was a really long pause before the dialogue, mostly because I wanted to give the music time to start playing. No tremendous artistic reason behind that part. But eventually I was convinced that I should make it a little more pleasant to look at. It looks more like a real place now. Although once you see it later, it's got, like, a lot more dead leaves and stuff on it, so it looks like more time has passed, which is the case, so that's pretty cool. Let's see. So now we're... Oh, nothing in there. Now we're past this part. I'm going to do the tear 'em out stuff pretty soon. We'll see how much of that I can get in here before I should stop. I feel like I might as well get a few story scenes in before we end this video. The last two have been a little on the short side, so we'll make this one a little fatter. Closed. This gives them an excuse to wander. At this point in the game, I'm a lot more concerned about, like, maintaining that double life thing, the classic superhero thing. The fuck? Look at this guy. Just walking through Stoic. Hey, I should have made him solid on the map. That's the drawback of NPCs that move randomly, though. That can happen. I think there was a pretty funny example in the Clean Slate Let's Play, too, where there was some idiot like barging during a really important scene. At least that one was more just a run-of-the-mill chat. Oh yeah, this is the first time in the pub. It's Bubba. What are you looking at, eh? Stop looking at me, glass of ale. You can't have it. He must be really fucking plastered down if he doesn't recognize Saad. But as has been said on various forums, because I always get asked if Bubba was intended to be a playable character,
from the get-go, and it's pretty clear that he wasn't. And I can't remember exactly how we got that idea. I think Mark drew this little comic about like Finley and Bubba arguing, and Bubba like took a swing at it, but then Finley shot out the leg of his chair or something. I don't know. It was funny, but it also got us thinking about Bubs and just what his story would be like. And then we thought, well, we ought to bring him back in a little more like substantial capacity, and there hadn't been a new playable character in a while, so why not? Let's go to the fish market. Well, buy a lionfish. Why? Oh, you'll see. And these things are worth getting too. That's really fucking handy. Oh, there's Emma. Hi, Emma. So this is another bit I'm a little embarrassed about this conversation. I mean, it's been edited from its original incarnation, but I don't know, it kind of drags, and it's like, early on I made the mistake of like kind of wanting to capture every last detail of the conversation. Like at the end, when they part ways, she's like, "Oh, I'll see you soon. Yep, I'll see you around later. Bye." It's just like, you don't need all that shit, right? Because like, there's not much entertainment value in that. So it's usually better to just sort of cut away after you've said like the important stuff or the funny stuff, or because I'm not saying that like, oh, you should only be using the dialogue to inform players about things they need to know. I mean, I don't really believe in that approach. I think you also need to use it for like characterization and mood and things like that. But people saying like goodbye, bye, see you later, there's really no value in that. It's nothing. It doesn't reveal anything about characters. It's not funny. It's not, So I think once you've gotten everything down that has value, whether as entertainment, characterization, or information, once you've, then you can cut away. So, lesson learned. And I mean, I did learn that. Later you'll see that the dialogue gets better about that. So yeah, we got Stoke and Rana here. She's being very cagey and not very forthcoming, which is sort of her MO. Have a nice lunch. Thanks. You watch yourself now. I will. You see that? Yeah. Again, you don't need that. Oh, this is a fun scene though. I always like this. This is when the bank gets robbed, and it's kind of like, I don't know, kind of Tarantino-ish, I guess. Maybe I'm flattering myself a little bit. I'm no Tarantino, of course, but it was inspired by Tarantino. How's that? Just like, this sort of Tarantino likes his crooks and his robbers and stuff, and this is, he likes making them funny, and it's just kind of fun. And you get a good sense of Maurice's personality here. I mean, he's not really a vicious kind of guy, even though, he's trying to be intimidating to some extent, but just shot that guard in the leg or something. He's not going to kill unless he's really got it. Yeah, he says, hey, give it a rest. I have to finish him off, huh? And there's some other bit where he's like, hey, this is a great story to tell. And the girl's like, yeah, whatever. And then the old guy just sort of, he's like, I'll be happy to tell the story. Well, thank you, sir. So he's just robbed the bank, and that was a good example of a scene that cuts away at just the right time. It's not like, I had Maurice sitting there being like, okay, well, the bank's been robbed. I got all the money in the bag, so have a good afternoon, guys. And here's Saad having more issues with Emma. The conversation went pretty well until she said that she's forgiving him because he's cute. And that's not something he's very happy about. He wants a deeper attraction or some deeper connection. I don't know. He's being kind of an idiot, though. He's being kind of hypocritical because, probably the only reason he started talking to her is because she's a cute blonde. So, pot calling the kettle black, or whatever. Blonde calling the blonde blonde. Gallia, are you guys idiots or something? It's right where the old Elven capital used to be. It's still there, you douchebag. It's just being rebuilt. He's so ignorant in these early scenes. It's kind of makes me surprised he got so popular. But I guess we just had a pretty good arc for him. You know, this is the kind of scene that I would really like to see, like, done with voice acting. You know what I mean? Just like the interplay between the three of them, I think it'd be really fun. So if anybody out there is, you know, looking for a little project and knows some voice actors, that would make me very pleased. Because I don't know how else it's going to happen. I don't know. I'd have to make something popular enough to get my foot in the door of, you know, to get myself some means of bringing that to fruition. But who knows, you know. Then Stoic kicks him out of the bar. He's had enough. Hey, shut the fuck up. You don't have to be quite that hard on him. Oh, you gotta be kidding. And now they're gonna witness the robbery. And, you know, demonstrate that Sod knows his name already. Explain now. So it's, you know, interesting element of his backstory there. I think we should wrap it up pretty soon, probably, because we're going to be walking around a little bit, getting our shit together, and then heading to Geno's. And that's another dungeon, right? That's not too long of a wait. And here they're really trying to cover up his secret identity thing. He may have already figured it out. I don't know exactly what he did. Alright, well, I guess we're done here. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.